us now from Houston, Texas, is Dr. Randall Smith. He is a professor of theology at the University of St. Thomas in Houston. So first of all, my analysis, did I make any mistakes as far as you know?
No, I mean, essentially, people might have described dogma and doctrine somewhat differently, but you've essentially, it seems to me, gotten the distinction right. Some things are infallible or what's sometimes called irreformable teachings, and other things don't have that. They can be serious teachings, need to be taken seriously, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're infallible.
Now, the Pope can give his opinion on politics. There's nothing standing in the way of him doing that. But he doesn't seem to understand, and I've followed him, the downside of mass migration. Even though in Italy, it's a huge problem, as it is throughout Europe, with one exception, Malta, which just doesn't permit it. So with the Pope, would you say he's being naive, avoiding the unintended consequences of mass migration?
Well, that may be, but, to be fair, a little bit fair to the Pope, the question he was asked by the reporter was, with the U.S. elections coming up, what advice would you give a Catholic voter faced with a candidate who supports ending a pregnancy, didn't say abortion or killing a child, and another who wants to deport 11 million migrants, didn't say illegal immigrants, didn't talk to me. And so that's the question you're faced with. And the Pope said, well, abortion is murder. Don't be wrong about that. And then, of course, he said everybody should be kind to migrants, et cetera, et cetera. So, which both are true.
No, but he was stronger on the migrant front. He said it was a sin.
It's a sin.
And he has in the past. So the question, Doctor, comes down to, is Pope Francis naive? Does he not know, all right, the evil that can happen when you have unregulated migration? And all you have to do is point to the gangs coming up from Venezuela, El Salvador, other people, Americans being murdered, raped, terrorized, whole communities in disarray, fiscal collapses everywhere. I mean, the list is endless. And Francis does not seem to be dialed into that. Or am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. I mean, again, it's unfortunate when he does these little, pressers on the airplane. It doesn't give him a chance to be
he's got to
more
know.
Detailed.
He's got to know. He has to at this point how volatile the situation is. So he uses the word lesser of two evils. All right. Mm-hmm. And in my message of the day, which we sent to you, I use myself as an example. Okay. Because Cardinal Dolan came to me a few years ago, and asked me to finance homes for migrants. And I did. But I didn't ask whether they were undocumented or not, because that wasn't the subject. Subject was helping the poor, which I'm compelled to do as a Catholic. I didn't get into the politics of it. But my job as a commentator is to make sure that Americans understand abortion is far different than opposing unregulated migration, which I do. I don't think I'm committing a sin by asking the U.S. federal government to enforce immigration law. I don't think I'm committing a sin by doing that. Do you think the Pope would say that I am?
Well, I don't know whether the Pope would say that, but he would not be in accord, I think, with Catholic teaching if he said that, right? Again, there are honest people of goodwill who can disagree about what to do about the immigration issue. But on the abortion issue, you're quite right. It's a contrary to the natural law and the divine law, and you'd have to say it's as the Pope does, it's murder. So if you wanted to read that statement of his about the lesser of two evils, he would be clearly saying, as you just did, that you would have to make abortion the preeminent issue of the two.
It's much more defined than the other. So 49% of American Catholics, and I was surprised by the number, 39 million, big number, that voted in 2020. But 49% of those voted for the Democrats, Joe Biden. And Joe Biden doesn't want any restrictions on abortion either. I mean, you never, ever come up. And as you know, some bishops have denied the president communion. They believe he's aiding and abetting abortion. And I do too. It's wrong to make judgments. I understand that. But politically, I think he's aiding and abetting abortion. My Catholic friends who support Biden, and I know many of them, I just look at them and I go, how can you do this? They have no answer, doctor. I have never gotten a cogent answer from a Catholic who voted for Joe Biden about that subject. Have you?
No. No, and I've written about this several times. The same sort of thing. I mean, I hate to be the person who agrees with you completely, but the point is, I have written repeatedly that if you were living in Germany, for example, in 1936, the issue would be what they're doing to the Jews, and tax policy or personalities would not enter into it. You would have to vote against people who are doing certain things to Jews. And if you lived in the United States during the time of Jim Crow or during the time of slavery, whatever your other policies might be, you would have had to vote against slavery. And we're in that situation. I just think people don't take it seriously, that, as the Pope says, you're terminating a human life. This is killing a human life.
I think there's something else in play for the Catholic vote. Most Catholics don't go to Mass anymore. The polls show that. It's about maybe a quarter attend weekly Mass. And there are many American Catholics baptized in the faith who have no idea what the faith says. None. And they don't care. We call them secular Catholics. I think that's probably the dominant group right now in the American Catholic Church. Would I be wrong?
Well, I don't know in the church as a whole, but you're undoubtedly right. So that, for example, when surveys of this sort are done of people who have been to Mass, right, in the last week or the last 2 weeks, the results tend to be very different, right? Then you see a large support for Trump, but I mean, a tremendous vote the other way for people who are pro-life candidates. So a lot of people check themselves in the box as Catholic, but don't really go to Mass or don't really believe in the church's teaching. They just sort of think it's like, well, I was born Jewish and now I'm Jewish. And it's not quite that way, but many people sort of think that way. We might call them ethnically Catholic, if such a term existed.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on here, and they don't really even understand. Final question. When you have any discussion like this about religion, the church and state thing comes in. So I go to Mass every Sunday because I can't get behind in atoning. If I get behind in atoning, I'm through. Because I have to keep current in that. But I never hear, and I travel widely, ever a priest having a discussion like you and I are having right now. Ever. They never apply the theology to the election or to what's going on. Now, I understand you can't endorse a candidate. You'll violate your tax-free status if you do that. I mean, it happens all the time in other religions, but it doesn't happen very much. The priests are frightened now, generally speaking, to make any kind of relevance to today and what's happening. Again, am I wrong on that?
Well, there I hate to disagree with you,
Sure,
but
you can disagree with me. That's why you have you on.
I have heard any number of homilies actually about the evils of abortion. Nobody has said, oh, so vote for this candidate. But then a lot of people in the congregation said he was being political. I don't think those priests were being political. I actually knew a priest up at Notre Dame who said, I just read today that Joe Biden has never heard a homily against abortion. And he said, well, here's one. And he gave one, right? I actually have heard a good number of homilies against abortion.
You got to send me the address of the churches, because I have never heard it addressed. Mm-hmm. I hear, yeah, let's get out there and rally for life and all that, but I never hear it applied to a reality. And you remember in Notre Dame when they invited Barack Obama to get the honor, because Obama was a big abortion guy too, what kind of controversy that caused. Doctor, we really appreciate the discussion. Thank you very much for helping us out today. The Biden-Harris economy continues to burden the average American. With flat wages, higher prices, people are covering expenses with credit cards. And if you're a homeowner and frustrated with that cycle, you can make a 10-minute no-obligation call today with my friends at American Financing. Interest rates are coming down. They are now in the low fives. And if you're constantly carrying a credit card balance each month with a rate in the 20s, American Financing can help put your hard-earned equity to work to get out of debt. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving customers an average of $800 a month. And if you get started today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. So please call American Financing today at 888-462-9557, 888-462-9557, or visit AmericanFinancing.net. Joining us now is one of the best political analysts in the country. You know him, Doug Schoen. His book, Politics of Life, My Road to the Middle of a Hostile and Adversarial World, is out in the marketplace, and you should pick it up if you are interested in politics and an honest assessment of them. So the reason I asked for you tonight is trends. I think the polls are emotional at this point, and I don't think that people should lock them in. Maybe a month from now would do that. But the trend is away from Trump, but not for Harris. That's my analysis as an amateur. All right. I'm not seeing people go, oh, I got to have that Kamala in office. How do you see it?
Bill, I think your talking points today were exactly right. They want Trump's policies. They have doubts about Trump. They're moving to Harris because she's had a successful launch, has very little to do with substance, only to do with vibes, energy, joy. Take whatever phrase you want. And Donald Trump, for whatever reason, has moved away from issues, from governance, and from the future. And that has cost him 2, 3, 4 points that he otherwise didn't need to lose.
Why do you think he's doing that? Do you have any idea at all?
I don't. I think, I used to work for him 30 odd years ago, so I spent a lot of time with him a long time ago. I found with him, both observing and working with him, if he's distracted or if he's off his game, there's a tendency he has to go off on tangents. I think that's what's happening now. But your advice is about as sound advice as I could give. And I've said it to people in his campaign. I've said it publicly. But he doesn't seem to be getting the message.
Yeah, I don't know why either. I haven't spoken with him. He texted me, 2 weeks ago, maybe, very short. I think he's mad at me because I'm not like some of the other broadcasters in his camp who, they don't dissent about anything he does. And I am an honest broker of information here. I think that sometimes he sees that as criticism. And, I understand that. I mean, I'm criticizing the way he's personalizing things because I don't know if I were in the room with him or if he were on the other side of this television camera like you are, I would say, what good does it do to say, I hate Swift, Miss Swift?
None at all, Bill.
Yeah.
None at all.
It doesn't do any good. It mobilizes your MAGA base, all right, and maybe they'll get a chuckle out of it, but you already got them, all right, and you're trying to widen. You get 74 million votes in 2020, enormous amount of votes, more than any Republican has ever gotten, right? But you still didn't win, and you need to win this time around, and you have so much more opportunity. See, Biden was running on, he was the VP, hid in his basement, nobody knew, but Harris is a radical. I mean, she is a radical leftist. So you got much easier opponent now, and you're still not honing in on her danger rather than her skin color and all this other crazy stuff. And I don't know why. He's a smart guy, Trump. I don't know why he doesn't get the message.
Bill, there's a very simple campaign message for him. Inflation, cost of living, out of control. Southern border, been open, millions of migrants, and on crime, which migrants have certainly increased, Kamala Harris has been a far left radical, defund the police, cashless bail, and nonviolent crimes, no penalties. That's all he needs to talk about and say he's for tax cutting and she's for increasing taxes.
Well, and overseas too.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Americans are very worried about that. I don't think his staff is giving him really great advice, or I could be wrong and that he's just not taking it. But I had a line, and if he does debate Kamala Harris again, which I think he should at this point, and I'm harking back to my book, Confronting the Presidents, Ronald Reagan turned it around in 1984, as you know, because Reagan had a terrible debate against Mondale, number one, and number two, waxed him. But all Trump had to say about the migrant thing, rather than this crazy, insane eating dogs and cats, was, you know, David Muir, before I answer that question tonight, I would like to apologize to the family of Lake and Riley on behalf of the United States of America for letting you down and failing to protect your college-age daughter from a murderer. I'd like to apologize, and I hope the vice president would join me in that apology. That would have won the election for Donald Trump if he had done that.
Bill, empathy and compassion tied with real-world outcomes is what people want to hear about, not the extreme rhetoric, not the hate, not the polarization. And indeed, the advice that you were suggesting, and I would underscore, Trump should come back to the unity message. He should talk about ending division and polarization and say that's his central focus going forward, because Harris is trying to do it as a far left radical, as you put it. And frankly, Trump has an argument to make, but he's not made it.
See, I disagree with you a little on that. I wouldn't go for the unity stuff because nobody's going to really buy that. I want Donald Trump, if he's elected, to ferret out all this corruption as far as the federal government is concerned. I want a better leadership in the FBI, the Secret Service, and all of these agencies.
Unity doesn't mean tolerating corruption.
I don't want any kumbaya. I want Trump to call the meeting.
I'm not talking kumbaya. I'm saying working systematically on our problems, people of goodwill across the aisle to get inflation down, close the southern border, and be tough on crime.
Yeah, that's efficiency rather than unity. See, I don't think at this point anybody's going to buy into unity. They all know that Trump has gotten hosed to the extent only Abraham Lincoln was put through more than Trump. And that if Trump wins, he should clean it up. Okay, right. Doug, one more question for you.
Sure, please.
I don't think predicting the election here today in the middle of September is an honest way to go about things, because there's just every single day. But I do believe that Kamala Harris's support is very thin among working Americans, not ideologues, not Democrats, not union people, leaders, or whatever. It's very thin. And that Trump could turn that around fairly quickly. Do you agree?
I completely agree. Hillary Clinton and Biden were 5-6 points ahead of Trump in 2016 and 2020. The election in both cases, as everyone knows, was very close. Kamala Harris has not made any substantive efforts to talk about her program or what she hopes to do other than platitudes. Trump can close the deal. He can make the case. But so far, Bill, for whatever reason, he hasn't done it. And he hasn't shown signs of understanding that he needs the mid-course correction that you so wisely spoke of.
All right. Thanks, Doug. The book again is Politics of Life, My Road to the Middle of a Hostile and Adversarial World. Doug Schoen.
Bill, thank you.
We'll talk soon. By now, you have heard me talk about Delta Rescue. They are a fantastic organization that helps rescue animals from the wilderness. You know I'm a dog lover, so is Leo Grillo, the founder of Delta Rescue. It is his life's mission to provide everlasting care for these once abandoned animals. I myself have donated to Delta Rescue. Do you believe it is part of man's duty to care for dogs and horses, the animals that so much of our history is tied to? If so, please consider making a donation or consult your advisor about leaving a gift in your will or trust. There can be some tax advantages, and it's a great way to help Delta Rescue accomplish their mission. So please visit deltarescue.org to learn more. That's deltarescue.org. You've asked and MyPillow listened up. They're bringing you the most requested offer ever, the premium queen size MyPillow, now only $19.98. It's made with patented adjustable fill to fit your exact individual needs. Regardless of your sleep position, it even helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long for the best sleep of your life. This sale even includes their 6-piece kitchen and bath towel sets, just $25 each. Their brand new mattress topper, as low as $69.98. And their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and a lot more. So please go to mypillow.com or call 800-869-0298. Use promo code BILL to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay. Order today. So Hillary Clinton's doing a media round. She's got a book. She goes on a podcast, Kara Swisher. I think she used to work for CNN. And this is an unbelievable soundbite. Go.
Does she have to do it? Because this is, it seems like sometimes it's like she lands the plane and then they're like, well, we'd like you to try it again. And she lands the plane.
She does not have to do it, Kara. I'm going to just cut to the chase. In fact, she's put out policies on her campaign website. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's truly interested can go and read about them.
So she doesn't have to do interviews. That was the question. I should have set it up better. So Ms. Swisher says, does she have to do interviews? And Hillary goes, no. They put it on our website. Now, number one, Madam Secretary, I think that's what you call Hillary these days, she doesn't write that stuff on her website. Surely you know that. Okay, it's written by somebody else, not her. Number two, she should be able to explain her positions on policy. Verbally, okay? In the moment, contemporaneously. This is so ridiculous. Now, Hillary Clinton herself was pretty good at that. And she didn't dodge most of the questions, some of them, but you asked a question, I interviewed her. She answered it. But now she's going, oh, no, Kamala didn't have to answer anything. Warren Harding. That's what Harris is doing. Warren G. Harding. That's why you need to read Confronting the Presidents. Smart Life. Admit me your mistakes. I got to tell you, I'm a judgmental person, but I've been trying to pull back on that a little bit. But if somebody won't admit a mistake when the evidence is overwhelming, then I lose respect for that person. I do. Because they're narcissistic, and I don't want to hang with narcissists. So admit your mistake. So on Amazon.com, there are reviews. You read the book. You don't even have to buy it from Amazon. Anybody can post a review. This always happens for any of my books, all right? 10, 12% of people hate me. They don't even bother reading the book. They just hate me, so they hate the book by extension. So there was an O'Reilly hater that filed a review of the book. Hated it. Awful, worst book in the world. Okay. 80% of the people on Amazon right now think the book's great. And that number will rise as more people read the book. But this guy hated the book. However, he pointed out a mistake in the book. We have in a footnote that Barack Obama did something in 2006. It was 2009. All right? It's a mistake. Now, he blames me for the mistake. It's not my fault, okay? Because I don't typeset. This was typeset wrong. Now, the publisher should have seen it when it came off, but the publisher didn't. So I scolded the publisher yesterday in a funny way. But I go, look, this is embarrassing to me. They're blaming me. Let me just say, I write the book. I market the book. I can't typeset the book. But it was a mistake, and I apologize for the mistake. And you should too. Everybody makes mistakes. Trump never apologizes for anything, ever. That's a mistake. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.